Well, hello, everybody. This is BC Clark. This is the Business Connection. And as you know, we interview business owners across the state. Today, my guest is Chelsea Luthy. Chelsea is the owner of Meet and Complete. Chelsea, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, you're awesome. So tell us a little bit about Chelsea, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how we got into Meet and Complete.
Sure. So my name is Chelsea Luthy. I live in Valentine, Nebraska, and I have 3 little girls who are my everything. They're so much fun. I guess I went to the school, I went to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln studying grazing livestock systems and had a minor in the Engler Agribusiness Entrepreneurship Program.
Okay.
And that was great.
That was it. That kind of got everything stirred up.
Yep.
And that's good. So in that program, what were some of the things that you learned before you actually launched your business?
Sure. Well, I did write a business plan, and I found out that the business plan I wrote was not something I was interested in doing. But it was cool because I learned the skills to be able to do it and got to meet with all kinds of other people. I didn't really have a great idea in college. So there for a little bit, I was thinking maybe I was being a little bit left behind, or maybe I wasn't quite following along with everyone, but I thought, no, this would be great information for when it was time.
I'm so glad that the first thing you said was, I wrote a business plan. There's so many people that don't realize without the planning, how do you even get or even launch a business? Because if you don't know what you need to know, how does that work? And so my philosophy has always been that if you can't start at the foundation, how can you build on it? So I'm glad you made that statement about that, because it is important when you're planning for a business to at least write down your thoughts, write down the description of what you might want to do. You know, did you find that process even so when you started your business, because of that, did that help you kind of get started and on the right foot?
So the activities I had done to get the creative juices flowing was I wrote down my skills. What am I good at? Then I wrote down my interests. What do I like to do? And then I realized that I wasn't sure what my passion was. So I read a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek to help find that. And then I pieced all of them together. And that's kind of how I came up with what I'm working on now.
That is awesome. So tell us a little bit about this business, Meet and Complete. And I noticed that meat was MEAT.
Yes, yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So with the agriculture background, I grew up on a farm and a ranch, and I'm really interested in health and nutrition. And I know we raise great beef in the state of Nebraska, and so I wanted to find a way to connect those things. Wasn't sure how that came about until I was traveling quite a bit for a previous job, and I was trying to find food in gas stations, and that can be challenging, right?
Right.
I mean,
you could find it may not be worth eating, but yeah.
That's true, right? Like I could have a donut, but what's it gonna do for me?
That's right. True.
So I was then packing my own food and decided, why don't I just try making what it is that I'd like to have? And so I did experimenting, and with some help from the UNL Food Processing Center, I came up with a prototype for what we call the CIBO meat protein bars.
Oh.
And basically what it is it's 90% lean ground beef, plus a fruit, plus a vegetable, and my own spice blend baked in a bar.
I love that idea, because I mean, I eat protein bars, but it's protein, which I'm not sure what's in it, and something else. And it's only, you know, and you can't list, they don't list all the vitamins. It's a lot of names I can't pronounce.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So I was like, why can't it just be meat?
Yeah. Why can't it just be that? And do you have to refrigerate these bars?
They do stay refrigerated.
So so it goes that you said meat, fruit, and a vegetable. That's everything we need.
Yes. It's a complete meal in a bar.
Oh my goodness.
And one thing that I found doing different health and nutrition type research is that sugar is very bad for me. It really affects, it really affects my blood sugar.
Yes.
It really affects my moods and
your skin, everything. Yeah.
So these bars do not have sugar. Now, not to be confused with, of course, fruit and blueberries have a natural sugar in them,
absolutely.
Right? But there's no added sugar to it.
That's amazing.
What we've done is we've used a lot of, basically, I can call it science, right? And so in our spice blend, we've picked and chosen spices that really bring out the natural sweetness of the blueberry.
Yes.
So it really complements. So the bar is
man.
savory. It's very good.
Awesome. So now I know you've told me about this. I can't wait to taste it. But anyway, so is it in the stores now, or in Nebraska?
Sure. So what we due to meat regulations and licensing, we're licensed to sell direct to customers and within the state of Nebraska.
Okay.
However, we are currently building our own facility in Valentine.
Awesome.
And that will be USDA inspected, which
That's
basically
amazing.
means that we can become a nationwide product.
That is amazing. I think I love it when small businesses are able to get over those humps and those hindrances that kind of keep them small. You know what I mean? Because for something like this, with all of the nutritional issues that we have with kids coming up and all this stuff, I think that'll be something that they can put in the schools, in the machines, so that if someone wanted to have a protein bar, they can get a good, healthy protein bar.
Absolutely.
And I know that's going to be part of your communication. So, how did the name come up? How did you come up with the name?
Yeah, so CIBO, which is the name of the protein bar, is actually an Italian word for nourishment. Because the whole point being, let's treat your body to healthy things that will do it well.
That is amazing. So CIBO, is that CHEBO?
It's spelled CIBO.
CIBO, CIBO, all right?
Right.
Okay, I love that. No one would know it's Italian or whatever.
No.
But it's so good because they'll say, CIBO, what does that mean? Then they'll go and look it up. They'll know it's nourishment. Awesome.
It's also an acronym for Complete Ingredients, Better Options.
I love that.
CIBO.
I love that. So, all right, now this didn't happen overnight. So kind of talk a little bit about how this, I know you came up with that. I know you're the agricultural, major. So how did all of this really get to the point till now you have a packaged product?
Sure.
That we can purchase when you leave here today?
Yes, yes.
But you're online, right?
Yes, we are. Awesome. We can ship.
Okay, all right. But on your website, people can order?
Yes.
And then you ship. Awesome.
Yep. And our website is www.meat-complete.com.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll say that a couple more times before this is over.
Okay.
So okay, and then when you started looking at that and you said, I've seen protein bars, they just have junk in them. So what makes sense? And then how did you get to the point where you converted the meat to something that could be cooked and packaged in a bar?
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me that, the creativity that you came up with.
So with 3 little girls, I basically consider myself an expert for trying to find ways to hide vegetables in food.
I'll bet.
So I had done some experimenting to try to get my kids to eat okra and cauliflower.
All the good stuff,
yeah. And they just weren't having anything of it. So when I did some testing and found this idea for a bar, when my 2-year-old at the time said, I really like this and I'd like more, I knew I had a win.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Because it's a commercial that says now, the little girl's trying to sell the, I think it's a plant-based sausage or something. And she said, I'm a kid and if I like it, yeah, that's right. Because you have to like it before we will. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So you started experimenting and then you thought, let me lay this out. Let me write this out.
Yep.
You started planning from there.
Then I got to a place where I thought we had a good product, but I didn't have all the details figured out. Instead of going to the bank or trying to find a place to buy or lease, instead I went to a local community hall building and we ended up renting that just as we would need it so that we could basically run a mini experiment with it.
That is amazing, yes. And I would say that's the best way to do that because I think what happens today is a lot of businesses, even when they start out, if they want to be a restaurant or whatever, they start off too big, too soon. And I think that, as a small business, you really need to go through each of the steps to get to that place where you become large. And I think that's why we have, so many of them that kind of fail is because they do too much up front and then they don't really understand how it all worked before they get into that. But I like the process that you took the time, you studied, you know, use your kids as guinea pigs. And that's the best, to me, that's the best way to find out if somebody's gonna like it, because if the kids like it, we probably will too. So you have to look at them. And then going through those steps, though, it gave you a lot of insight too on, okay, I can mix blueberries with this, I can mix, and I can use these type of seasonings to spruce it up so it tastes like a bar. It's robust, it's savory, and it's good for you. Now, you can't find all those in one place.
No.
For sure, and definitely not in a bar, you know. So I commend you on that. And I've not heard of Meet Dash Complete. So is it just in Valentine right now?
We're located
Predominantly
in Valentine.
I know you're located in
Okay.
Valentine, and so you've only been selling in Valentine.
Right,
Okay.
basically. Yep. Unless
online.
unless it's word of mouth and ships to other places, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh gosh, so I'm really excited about that, and so when I think about, so give them some tips. So as a small business owner yourself, we have business owners that watch this show. Some are just starting, some are thinking about starting. Give them a few tips that you think made you successful up to this point. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Sure.
Because a lot of them are in those stages where they're just trying to get started. A lot of them may have a product, but they're not sure what to do with it or where to go to even get started on it. So just, you know, give them some pointers on things that they could do, maybe where some resources are that they could perhaps use. And
Sure.
there's a ton of resources here in Omaha. In Nebraska, really, there are a lot of resources.
Sure.
Especially because we have SCORE and Nebraska Business Development Center, all those different places that we can go to resource to get education. But a lot of times I think people don't use everything that's here. But if they really want to have a successful business, we found out that if they do the things that they need to do, get all the information that they need so that their foundation is set, that they have something to build on, and they're not building as they're going. Because if they're just building as they're going, there's no foundation for it to be something that they can hold on to. So just give some tips on what you believe makes a small business successful or can make them successful.
Okay. A few things that I found that have really helped me is when I first started, I committed to myself saying, okay, I'm going to do one thing every day that will advance my business. And it doesn't matter how big or small it was the action of doing something daily. And so I did something every day for almost now 365 days.
That's amazing.
Knowing that 1 year down the road, no matter what that looks like, it will be further than where I was.
I love that.
Thank you. So a few other things to think about is, I know there are different development districts across the state. They can be huge partners in helping with business development. Omaha did have a startup week that I'm not sure if they had one this year.
Yeah,
but
they did.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was really cool that because of the pandemic, it was virtual last
Yes,
year.
yes.
And so I was able to participate, even though I was in rural Nebraska, which was
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
You had mentioned SCORE, and so I know Nebraska Business Development Center, or NBDC, is a great partner.
Yes.
We did work with them to look at researching the idea of government contracting to see
Yes.
if that was the right fit or not.
Yes. Yes, I would think so. You never know what the government wants.
Absolutely.
And a healthy bar makes a whole lot of sense to me, especially when guys are in the field.
Yep.
So, I mean, the door is wide open for you, young lady, on this whole venture. Yeah, no, I
Yep.
think that's really great. You're right. You know, that's true. We have a lot of resources, and they just need to take part in there. You know, what is one key thing that you think a business owner have to have? I usually ask this all the time, and I get a different answer. But in order to keep going.
I think that really comes down to the passion, the why, because you know you're going to wake up some days and you might be tired, or you might not feel well, and you might decide, well, what am I going to do today? But it's that why that burns in you that really gets you going. For me, something I included in this business is a give back program.
Awesome.
And that is for every 3 bars that are sold, the company donates one.
That's
And we've
amazing.
made donations to our local schools, which would be Cody Kilgore schools and Valentine schools, our local senior center. And our next one, we're working on a Veterans Administration home, VA home.
That's great. And you know, that's a good thing, because I think, and you know this, the more you give, it just circles right back to you.
Absolutely.
And when you're starting a business, those things, and I always tell people if they're just starting out, especially if they have a product, give out that product, because it's like tithing, right? Give out that product, because it's going to come back to you, you know. And when you give, it is giving. It's not like I'm waiting to, you know what I mean? You give it, and you allow it to come back to you. So I love those things, and I think those are key factors in being successful. I really do, because if you don't understand giving, it's hard to understand selling.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, and the other thing I think also is that without passion and purpose, it doesn't work. So, I mean, to me, those are you hit it on the nail when you said passion. You have to have the passion, because passion is what drives you out the bed. You know, passion is what helps you to keep studying until you find, you know, that solution to the problem that you have, or to that cause that you're trying to take care of. It's passion that does that. It's the why you're doing it. And so a lot of times I think people lose that in the sight of all the work they're doing in the business, that they forget about it. And that's when things start to go backwards. And so it's really important to see you sit here and say, I started this 6 months ago, or almost a year, and to see where you are right now, and you're ready now to really, I just see it being very successful, you know, and I'm so glad that you're here to tell us about it. So
Thank
were
you.
there any struggles that you had along the way? I always like to ask that, because, you know, some people, when they see you successful, they always say, well, they didn't have to do this or that and the other, but they don't know the struggle, you know what I'm saying, because they didn't see it. But you know, there's failures. That's the only way you know how to get to success.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Something that's challenging is I also still work full time. So I sprinkle this in and
Yes.
around everything else, plus
Yes.
being a mom, and of course, being a mom's first.
Yes.
But I work for the state of Nebraska while doing this. So I do that during business hours and then do this in and around, but I have a great support system.
That's perfect. That is a key.
Yeah.
You need to have a good
and
support
they
system.
they help pitch in where it's
Yeah.
needed. That would be my mom
Yeah.
and my fiance. And
Yes.
so that's great.
Yeah, that is great. And you know, it's like some people say, well, I have a team. It's great to have a team that is loyal to the process, that believe in the same mission that the company is, and a team that's willing to step in when you have to step out. You just don't find those everywhere, you know. And with the last 2 years of, I would say, the last 2 years, I don't want to call it chaos, but we just did a program just recently, and it said, with the last 2 years in derailment, now you're trying to find a way to get back on track. And that has a lot of stuff entangled in all those words. But that's really what happened. You know, we had 2 years of derailment, and then people are fighting their way back now. Some things will never go back to the way they were. Some things changed for the better, and some just went away. So, you know, I think that's what we have to realize as business owners, that, you know, sometimes we have to really look at being flexible about some things, being able to pivot when things don't look like they're going to go the way we want them to, or in, you know, a pandemic. You know, we didn't know about pandemics 100 years ago. There was one, you know, and 100 years later we had another one. But it's amazing to me that what we learned from all of this. And I think that, you know, during this time now, business owners have learned strengths. They've learned some courage, and perhaps maybe they had some, but they didn't realize how much they needed. So now they have more. And I think that that's really important, you know. And so as you started your business 6 months ago, and in the middle of it, probably was a year and a half into it, I guess. But did you find that there were resources and things that you didn't have available to you that might have been in 2019 before we had the pandemic?
Sure. I'm not sure I can think of something
Yeah.
right away.
But there's so much that changed, so
Right.
you know, there
Right.
we will never know. we won't. But I think also, so you're going to get your building. So what kind of steps have you taken to get ready to, you know, finally purchase a building or your own space?
Sure.
So-
So right now we're looking at the processing equipment that we want to be using. Right now the bars are all cut by hand. And so we're trying to decide if that's something we want to implement in our new facility or not, or if we want to automate in some ways. That's one of the challenges in
Yeah.
the industry is workers, and how do we make that all work?
Yeah, that would be, you know, you don't think about that when you're thinking about the bars. You see the machines that chop the bars, but then, you know, what does that take? And is there a plant or somewhere that you could use or send your product to have them, you know, cut and package? Because those are things that you would be thinking about. Because I would think it'd be really expensive to get all the equipment that you would need to do that yourself, at least right now. But then if there's a manufacturing plant that maybe does food, you know, and there are certain times that they wouldn't mind maybe allowing or either you getting your product in and you pay them so much to do that cut and package.
We had thought about doing that. We had thought about using a co-packer where they would make the product themselves. I was nervous, though, that they might be more concerned about yield or how to lower costs when I am the most concerned with how healthful can my product be than how much money we make. Not saying that we still have to be in business.
Sure.
You know, but that yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. Because, you know, the thing is that it's your baby, and your desire is a good product go out that's healthy, that's good for people.
Exactly.
And if you put it in somebody else's hand, their thing may be, well, if we take this out and add this, we would sell more.
Right.
And that's something you can't watch when you do that, when you send it to someone else to do that.
Exactly.
So I agree. And I think that, you know, as long as you handle what's coming in and you know what things you'll need to do in order to increase the revenue, I think you stay with what you do, what works, right?
Yep.
Stay with what works. That way you know what the product is. There's never a time when you can say, oh, this bar tastes different, I wonder if. And you don't want to have that anxiety when you've worked too hard to have it great. So I think that's great. So one thing I would say, and then we're going to close out here, is thank you so much for being here, because we found about a product, meat-complete.com in Valentine, Nebraska.
Yes.
And we could go to that website, which is also meat-complete.com. And any last word you might want to say?
This has been really fun. It's been a little stressful, but mostly fun. Knowing
Are you
that,
still nervous?
No.
I told you.
Knowing that you can take something and see where it goes, that there's that opportunity.
Yes.
And so I'm really excited about it.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations
Thank you.
on where you are, and thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for joining us as well. This has been The Business Connection, and I'm your host, BC Clark. We'll see you next time.